Hello everyone, welcome to Teacher Development Webinars. My name is Zamanullah Sand. I facilitate virtual programs at Teacher Development Webinars. Teacher Development Webinars is a social action project to support teachers and educators around the world with professional development opportunities. It is an initiative using the rise in online professional development to connect people from around the world with opportunities which they may not have had due to old normal of face-to-face conferences. And in this webinar, Professional Inquiry for Your Own Teaching Environment, presenter Fiona Robertson will share her experiences of state sector primary stage teachers in Punjab who conducted a professional inquiry on a topic of their choice. We'll look at how teachers thought about the research, the results, and overview of the workshops, and how professional inquiry can be built into everybody teaching as ongoing CPD. And now it's my pleasure, Fiona Robertson, for this webinar. Fiona is currently leading the British Council English for Education Systems team in Pakistan. She trained as a secondary school English teacher in Scotland, then moved to Italy, where she taught English in many environments, including special education and university faculties. She also started training teachers. She began working for the British Council on teacher development projects in 2011 in the Middle East and co-developed a language for resilience program for displaced teachers and students in Iraq and Jordan, contributing a chapter in the British Council getting inclusive environment. She came to Pakistan in 2018 and is supporting professional development on the EDGE program, where adults and girls develop English and digital skills. We are pleased to have you, Fiona. Welcome to Teacher Development Webinars.
Hello, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here. I've seen that people have joined from all over the world. That's amazing. And I'm really eager to start talking about professional development. So without further ado, because Amanullah has done a wonderful presentation about me, so you know all about me. And just one thing, what was not in my bio was the work that we did on the Peely project, and that is what we're going to talk about now. So am I able to share my screen now, Amanullah?
Yes, you can share your screen.
Okay, great. So I'll put up the PowerPoint. Okay, are you able to see it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'll put it on the slideshow. Okay, brilliant. Let me just, okay, never mind. Okay, so we're going to talk, as you know, about professional inquiry, which might well be something that you've already met in your professional development. I imagine you're all teachers. Professional inquiry is often also referred to as action research in the classroom, but we're going to go over, you know, what it actually is now. So what are we going to be doing in this webinar? Okay, so just go quickly through what I'm going to cover. So we're going to look a little bit in detail about what professional inquiry is. And then I'm going to look at what the British Council did to encourage professional inquiry in the government sector, teachers and schools. I'm going to introduce to you the winners of the 2019 Teacher Educator Award. and then explain the areas of research that their publications covered. These winners of the award did research into professional inquiry, and it was published. I'm then going to look a little bit at how we can inquire into our own teaching, looking at practical examples from the research, and then how we can take a fresh look at our teaching through professional inquiry. Just something about me. So I'm not teaching at the moment. I'm managing British Council projects in Pakistan, but you know, I've been a teacher for many years. I started teaching in Scotland, so I am familiar with the classroom reality, not just in the UK, but I spent most of my life teaching actually in other countries. So, okay, now, what is professional inquiry? And I'm going to go to our colleague, Simon Borg, who's an expert in professional inquiry. He was actually called over to Pakistan to do some training with our professional inquiry winners, because after they'd done their research into professional inquiry, and after we discovered who'd won the award, we brought Simon over to do some special training so that they could properly publish these pieces of research. And later on, I'll tell you where you can find research and have a proper look at it. So Simon, he taught, sorry, I've just, I've got all these kind of things on my screen. Sorry, hold on 1 second and I'll try and move these things. Okay. So, sorry about this. I'll go back to the slideshow and hopefully. So Simon, so the first thing he describes professional inquiry as teachers taking charge of their own professional development. Okay, so owning it themselves. It's focusing on teaching and learning. So not just teaching, but learning. So what students are doing, and I'm going to look at that in more detail. It's how teachers grow by engaging in professional inquiry. So how we evolve because we're really looking at what's happening in the class. It's about collaboration. So working with our colleagues. It's not just about me on my own, but it's also about, you know, what we're doing together with our colleagues. It's keeping teaching routines fresh. Okay, and I think we're all aware of, you know, out of overwork, out of just not really having a lot of time or maybe motivation, we tend to sort of turn out those same old lessons, tried and tested. And at a certain point, we need to throw everything in the dustbin, even our old favorite lessons, and have a look at how we can do things in a new way. And very important, one of my own personal kind of obsessions, looking at what the students are doing, not just what the teacher is doing in class. Okay, so what did the British Council do? Okay, so just to give you a little bit of history, under Peely project, which some of you from Pakistan might have heard of, this is a large-scale project in Punjab, 2017 to 2020, that the British Council did in collaboration with the Schools Education Department Punjab and the Qaid-Azam Academy for Educational Development, with Qaid. We were working with them. We rolled out this project for general pedagogy for primary teachers. And every year we had a Teacher Educator Award, and it was to stimulate our expert trainers, who were the master trainers working in the government sector. And it was to recognize, celebrate the contribution that they were putting into the project, and give them an opportunity to also develop in their own way, in a more interesting way. So in 2019, the award was given for professional inquiry, and you know, we thought that professional inquiry is something that we don't always use as professional development for teachers. Generally, teachers and training bodies, you know, preferred face-to-face training, whereas we know that there are huge shortcomings of that. You know, that the long-term impact and sustainability of these very expensive courses is not always worth the time and money that's been put into the training. And also, you know, it's difficult to reach the huge numbers of teachers. There were 200,000 in the Pili project. Whereas professional inquiry is something that is basically very, very low cost, and teachers do it in class, and immediately their students have the benefit of it because the teachers are immediately working with the students. It's not something that teachers learn about and then after they, oh right, I better try that out in my class. It's something that you necessarily need to do in a way that involves the students. Okay, so here we have the winners of the 2019 Teacher Educator Awards. There was an outright winner, in fact, and the other four were the runners-up. Very, very stiff competition. This is what, so Ifat Jabin, she was the winner, as I said. Fatima Shahid, who I think is possibly on this webinar, is in the audience, and maybe some of the others, I'm not sure. Sonia Saftar, Mohammed Wakas, and Aska Kiran were declared as the runners-up. I also want to give sincere thanks to Afia Qureshi, who was my colleague at the time, and you know, I didn't really do an awful lot of work on the professional on the Teacher Educator Award and the professional inquiry. It was Afia that did all the hard work, supported by our training consultant, Rabia Saheed, and Rabia was actually the mentor and monitoring the participants. So thank you, Afia and Rabia, if you've been able to join us. Okay, there's a link which I think Amanullah will put in the chat, and this is where you can find the piece of published research. Don't look for it now, you don't need it, I'll be going through it. But it would be great if later on you could have a look at the wonderful work that the expert trainers did. And it's at the end of this report. There's a report on Pili. You can read the report if you want. It's got a lot of detail. But right at the back, there are the 5 published pieces of professional inquiry. So I really, really recommend that you go and have a read, and I'm sure it will inspire your teaching. Okay, so what did they do? Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. So Ifat did research on teaching speaking skills through audiovisual aids and activities. Fatima did her professional inquiry on the effectiveness of pair and group work. Sonia was using guided inquiry to develop 21st century skills in teaching science. Mohammed Wakas was looking at improving listening and speaking through the focus on weak forms. And Aska did work on creating an inclusive classroom environment where all participants were motivated to participate in the lesson. So you can see that actually, if we look at the subject, the topics of research, they're all to do with communication. You know, we know that language is communicating. English is communicating. All languages are communicating. And so often in our classrooms, there's very little real communication going on. And we will see some examples of that now. Okay, back to our friend Simon Borg, our expert on professional inquiry. So he came up with 4 very simple questions that I thought I would use to guide this webinar. So for a teacher who's decided to embark on professional inquiry, if I've decided to do that, I would ask myself, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? How effective is it? And how can I make it more effective? So I'm going to take each question and I'm going to apply it to one of the publications and see what our award winners did. Okay. Excuse me, I'm just going to have a drink. So let's have a look at IFAT then. With the first question, what am I doing? Okay, now, so she became aware that speaking was a neglected area in public schools, and that's no surprise. I mean, I've heard that many times. I think we all know that in Pakistan, the fact that students are not, you know, marked on speaking or listening, for that matter. It doesn't really come into the tests. So teachers, students and parents think there's no reason for spending much time on it, whereas the reality is, of course, the English is a language, it's about communicating, and if the children don't need to get through a spoken English test, they probably will need it when they, you know, go through the system. The English medium instruction in secondary in Pakistan requires a higher level knowledge of English, and definitely if you go to university, you're going to be able to master all the skills, not just reading and writing. So as Ifat rightly identified, the problem is partly in the national curriculum, which has no clear instructions regarding really how to teach speaking and listening. We now have a single national curriculum in Pakistan, so let's hope that there are better guidelines for how teachers can concentrate on speaking. So to answer the question, what am I doing? Ifat came up with an observation. So she observed a colleague and she looked at what happens during the lesson, which is a really good place to start. So rather than looking at herself, she looked at a colleague, and the teacher used grammar translation method in the classroom. There was minimum student participation, no activities were used, and there was no oral practice in the lesson plan. So if I had another column, so what should have happened? And so, okay, we all, well, definitely our Pakistan teachers know what grammar translation method is. And I think it's a more technical way of saying teachers standing up in front of the class, possibly reading from the course book and translating it into Urdu while the students stare blankly at the teacher or stare out the window, or maybe some will answer the occasional question that the teacher throws out there. So minimum participation because the teacher's doing all the talking, and limited activities or no activities in this case. and no oral practice. So the students are not given the opportunity to actually practice the language that the teacher's trying to teach, which means that very limited learning is taking place. So Ifat says, oh, so she should have used the direct method along with grammar translation. Yeah, the direct method. I mean, the direct method is where we use only English. It's a very old, actually, method. It's over 100 years old. It's where you only speak the target language in the classroom. But, you know, now we are of the view that maybe it's a good idea to back up the target language with a local language, because it means that it's easier for the learners anyway, but a sort of mixture between two, but definitely not just willy-nilly translating everything for the students, because it means that they're not going to be listening to the English. And more involvement with the students. So a communicative method where the students are asked meaningful questions, you know, so not just did you understand, but also where were you on Saturday afternoon? What did you do? Tell me about your brother, what did he do? You know, so these kind of questions, very simple. Interactive activities, so, you know, pair work, communication gap activities, teamwork, etc. And oral practice. So there's a section in the lesson where the children are actually practicing the target language. So Ifat goes on in her piece of research to say that our observations of the lessons also showed that over time, and with support provided by the teacher, so audio-visual aids, okay, so not just the teacher standing up there, but with, you know, pictures, listenings, etc., drills, and the students became more confident in speaking English. So they hadn't even, you know, they were so unused to speaking English that she says, Ifat says that at first the students were shy, they used to hide their faces, but after only 4 weeks of targeted support for the students, they were able to overcome their shyness and lack of confidence. Okay, so that's just an example. Let's move on to the next question. Why am I doing this? Okay, so why am I doing this piece of research? Why am I interested in looking, analyzing, and changing my teaching? So Fatima says that in my English lessons, I was aware that students' levels of motivation and participation was low. So I started to think of ways of involving them more in English lessons. So Fatima in 2019 was able to go to the UK, and I know that because I was there, and she visited a state school, actually government school in Liverpool, but she was very inspired by the fact that during the English lesson, the teacher used pair and group work and the students were actively participating. This seemed like an idea I could integrate into my teaching. Now, just a quick word, you know, teachers are always overworked, we're exhausted, and students, you know, primary students, imagine the amount of energy they have. Students want to learn, students are curious, students want to find things out, students want to talk, move, do stuff. So why is the overworked, let's say middle-aged, more than middle-aged in my case, teachers standing up there doing all the work and the students are just sitting there doing nothing when they're so full of energy? If the students are doing pair work, group work, all kinds of stuff, the teacher can sort of relax and just go and facilitate the lesson, and everybody's happy. The students are busy, they're using up their energy, they're working, and the teacher has an easier deal. Having set up the lesson, they can sort of relax, and it's all much more satisfactory for everybody. Okay, now Fatima had a good idea, and she decided to discover from her students, so she immediately involved her students in the professional inquiry. So she wanted to discover, how do my students feel about pair work and group work during English lessons? How do pair and group work enhance my students' participation in English lessons? So the first one, how do they feel? So imagine the students, imagine how happy they were when their teacher actually asked them for their input, okay, for their opinion about the lesson. So she tried out 8 activities, and she got the students' feedback on the activities, how much they liked them, how successful they were. And from those 8, she eliminated 3, because according to the students, they were not very easy to carry out. They didn't really understand what they were doing. And she continued with the other 5. So the students had the opportunity to actually choose what they wanted to do in class. The students were also aware, why is the teacher doing this? So the teacher was including them in her decision to do things in a certain way. So these were the questions that Fatima asked the students. Do you find group work helpful, and how? Do you divide the task up among the group, and how? So she was trying to find out about the actual strategy that the students came up in group work. How do they work it out? Because it's not always obvious what the students are doing. Do you feel confident while working with a buddy? So that was about pair work. Do you prefer to work in a group? Why or why not? So, do you prefer pair work or group work? Because, often as teachers, we just randomly decide to do something, maybe because of the number of students in the class, but for no particular pedagogic reason. And she asked, do you warn or motivate a buddy who doesn't participate? So what were students doing if they wanted to do the activity and their partner for some reason didn't? So we become motivated, okay? So you can find out more about that in the research paper, as you can with all 5 pieces of research. So the next question, how effective is it? How effective is what I'm doing in class? So Sonia's research was on 21st century skills, specifically critical thinking and problem solving. So her starting point was teachers should enhance understanding about scientific inquiry. We know that. We know from school policy that in all stages, starting at primary, we're supposed to be developing critical thinking and problem solving. But here's what Sonia found. She decided to ask her colleagues, other teachers, about their own knowledge and use of critical thinking and problem solving in the scientific classroom. And the results showed that 70% of teachers involved knew about 21st century skills, okay. But only 63 agreed that these skills are useful for students when integrated in the lesson. And only 56 said that they're trying to use these skills in their own classrooms. So this is something that, according to the educational policy, we're supposed to be doing, but in fact, the teachers weren't very sure what it was, and they weren't really sure about including it in science lessons, and science is all about critical thinking and problem solving. So 52%, so about half the teachers said they face challenges when they try to teach 21st century skills in their classrooms. Sonia was very humble and said, it was clear then that I was not the only teacher who found it difficult to promote these skills in the classroom. Okay, so she includes herself in the, the group that say that they face challenges. So obviously the educational policy is paying homage to the 21st century skills, but at the level of the classroom, of the teacher's guide of training, teachers are not getting enough guidelines as to how to do that. So going back to her lesson, Sonia set up guided inquiry, and it was all about observing seeds, which sounds like a nice lesson, how plants grow. It must have been the biology section. And she said, during the lesson, I did not tell students how to solve the problems, but I asked questions that helped them approach and solve the problem on their own. I interacted with groups, asking questions, providing resources when a group of guide inquiry. So these students are doing a lot of the work and trying to work things out for themselves and are busy using up their energy. It was the first time that students were presented with a problem and had to find a solution by themselves. And she talks in her research about how she discovered, showed the students and they were trying to look at the course book and have a peek and find out the answers from the course book, but she wouldn't let them. So while guided inquiry asks students to learn in new ways, teachers also need support to help them understand how they can use it to promote 21st century skills in the classroom. Okay, so there's a need for teacher support in this. Okay, next question. So how can I make it more effective? How can I make what I'm doing in the class more effective? Over to Mohammed Wakas, and his hypothesis is actually close to my own heart. If students are made aware of the importance of weak forms, their listening and speaking skills would be improved. I love this. I love the importance of weak forms in English. It's often neglected, and it's such an important piece of knowledge for understanding and pronouncing English. And so the weak forms are the schwa, the and the I sound. So vegetable, the and minute, so the I in minute, but very, very important because of the rhythm of English. So he did it in a very sort of scientific way. He tested the students, and so there were 7 45-minute lessons focusing on weak form in pronunciation given to students. So he then tested them against a control group. So there was a group of students who hadn't had these 7 lessons, and this group, his students had the 7 lessons. So after only 7 lessons, all the post-test scores showed a significant improvement ranging in individual students from 11%. So the smallest improvement was 11%, and the highest improvement was 40% after just 7 lessons. Okay, so this is how Mohammed Wakas started making listening and speaking skills more effective. Okay, so I want to just look at another point, which is, it comes up in doing professional inquiry in your classes, because we're able to, as I said before, observe the students, not the teachers. Now, years ago, I worked with a colleague of mine, and we were looking at teacher observation, and she told me that she looks at students, not the teachers, because she can more effectively work out what's happening in the classroom from what students are doing, rather than focusing on the way that the teacher is performing in the classroom. So also, you know, professional development, as I said before, always nearly always focuses on teachers rather than students. So, you know, lesson observation, teacher activity groups, online courses. But I'm now very interested at looking at what the teacher is doing to immediately affect you know, improve what students are doing in class. So let's go to our fifth winner, Aska Kiran. So she posed two questions. She's talking about including all her learners in the lesson. So she asked, what are the reasons for my students' lack of participation in activity-based science lessons? And how do students react to the introduction of more creative and variety-based activities? So Aska as well, like Fatima, prepared a questionnaire, including very simple and easy questions for the learners to find out how they think and feel about certain areas, such as classroom management, appropriate materials, teachers' methodologies, students' attitude, achievement, or motivation. So again, you know, imagine how happy the students might be to have the opportunity to be honest to the teacher about what's happening in class. You know, they're able to express themselves and honestly say, look, that's boring, I don't like that. It's very difficult for me to work in a large group, etc., etc. So from the preliminary observation work, over 4 weeks, Aska delivered 20 science lessons and introduced a range of interactive and creative learning activities. So this is in order, according to the, you know, the feedback she got from the students. She had 3 simple activities. The first was connecting the activities with learning outcomes. So she simply told the students what the purpose of the activities was, because earlier observations suggested that students were not interested because they didn't understand what the purpose of the lesson was. So she was very clear right from the beginning why they were doing what they were doing. The second was a nice activity, again, very simple, using popsicle sticks. So she had colored wooden sticks with the students' names written on them. And instead of nominating students randomly, she would pick up a stick to give each student at least one opportunity to speak. You know, we often always include the same students. We look for the ones who are going to answer the question correctly, or we concentrate on the naughty students or whatever. And then there's a whole kind of range of like students that are, you know, the kind of middle students who are not particularly forthcoming that we might, you know, pass over. And so in this way, Aska was ensuring that she included everybody, because at the end of the lesson, the basket of sticks would be empty. And the other thing she did, which, you know, we often do, but she made a point of displaying, so students were making and displaying their creative work. You can see pictures of not just Aska's students' work, but all the students' work, I think, in the published research. So the students could display it on the walls, and it also is, you know, an aid. You can use it in other lessons. So the students would be motivated by the fact that the teacher is listening to them and acting on their suggestions. Okay, just to go back to Simon Borg's, one of his other comments, which is in the executive summary of the published papers. He talks about taking a fresh look at how we teach. Let's start again from scratch. Throw all our old lessons in the dustbin and start again, honestly. We need to take an interest in our own teaching. So not just motivate the students, but motivate ourselves to do more, to be, we're great teachers. We've had years of experience. Let's see how we can be even better. Be honest with ourselves. Okay, yeah, that lesson went all right, but I could have involved the students more. I could have used more relevant vocabulary, etc., etc. We need to really look at the students. This is my, the sort of bee in my bonnet. Look at the students. What are they doing? Why is that person looking out the window? Why is that person not answered the question? Why doesn't that person have a book? And really get to know the students, interact with them, use their names, smile at them, get them to smile back, all these things. Involve our colleagues so that, what are our colleagues doing? We can get ideas from them. They can give us tips. They can see things that we're doing if they observe our lesson that we're not maybe aware of. Involves the students, give them questionnaires as Fatima and Aska did, ask their opinion, which would be amazing for them. Break up the teaching routine. Okay, so it's great, you give the students the aims, they know what we're doing. Sometimes it's a good idea to surprise the students, do something in a completely different way. Do something unexpected that they don't know where it's going to keep them guessing, because that is going to keep them focused. And students are interested because they sense something new, exciting, motivating is happening. Okay, so this is Simon Borg's little note in our research. So he says, the case studied in this volume provide excellent examples of how teachers can use professional inquiry to deepen their understandings of their work in order to support the students more effectively. I'm sure it will be a source of inspiration for primary and secondary school teachers in Pakistan and elsewhere. So please have a look at the published works. I'm sure you'll get ideas and inspiration from it. So thank you very much, and any questions? So I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thank you so very much, Fiona. It was wonderful that you all shared your wonderful experiences of research with Philly, and one of the candidates who are involved with project, Fatima Shahid, is present in this webinar too. So congratulations, Fatima, and all. I invited all Sakiram, Waqas, Iram Jabi, and Sonia Safdar. So yeah, it was wonderful to hear from you. So there was this question from Teresa that how can we implement this kind of professional inquiry in our virtual classes, virtual classrooms?
Sorry, in which class?
Any ideas on this?
Sorry, can you say that
online
again?
setting, in online setting, virtual classrooms.
Okay, so firstly, I just wanted to say, I mean, I forgot to say, this is like very, very well structured empirical research, which was published. You don't need to go to these lengths in your own professional inquiry, but you do need to be fairly kind of structured, but you just need, a reflective journal. So, make it as simple as you need to make it feasible for you. Online, I mean, it's the same. There's not much difference. You're still, you're still interacting with the students. You can do all kinds of things like, Mentimeter to get their opinion on things. There's all kinds of ways of doing, or SurveyMonkey, you can get their opinions and act on that. It's in a way difficult to, maybe more difficult to see exactly what the students are doing. But, you know, use breakout rooms, go into the breakout rooms, make sure that you interact one-to-one with some of the students to find out exactly how they're, you know, how they're doing, how they feel, you know, so it's really not that different doing it online to face-to-face in the classroom. Okay, any more questions?
Great. So there was another question from Sarina. She asked, what are the examples? You mentioned about the targeted support. So can you come up with some of the examples of the targeted support?
Sorry, the targeted approach. I'm not quite sure about that.
Yeah. Targeted support.
Okay, I'm not quite sure which what that's referring to. I'm going to pass on that. I don't understand the question, but I suggest looking at the research. If you read the reports, I think you'll probably find the answer to that. Sorry, I'm not quite sure what you're getting at there.
So if you have questions, you can put them in the chat box. I'm monitoring the chat box, and I've also shared the link to this Philly report. So in your free time, you can read it and have more insights about this project. And I've also shared the links in a development group. So that would be great if you can look at it. So yeah.
Yeah, just to remind you, the Peely report, there's the whole report at the beginning. I think it's about 64 pages. At the end of it, after page 64, you will find the professional inquiry publications. Okay, so go right to the end and then you'll find them there.
Okay. So if Fatima is here, if she wants to, you know, give her remarks, you can unmute Fatima.
Are you there, Fatima? I saw you joined earlier on. Thanks, Savita. Yes, thanks for encouraging people to read the report. Lovely pictures as well. You get an idea of our schools in Pakistan if you're not from Pakistan.
Can you hear me?
Hi there. Hi, Fatima. How are you?
I'm fine, Fiona. How are you? And thank you very much for such a wonderful opportunity for all of us. And I'm really glad to see that there are so many people around the world. There were people from India, Sri Lanka, and Mexico. And I got a message over here like it is maybe 4:18 and somebody is here with us. And it's really amazing. Like it was very fruitful indeed to like have a brief session on professional inquiry. And as I have gone through it, and I will if somebody want to ask anything about professional inquiry, you can contact us. I can give my email to Amanullah, and I'm highly willing to help somebody, like if somebody wants to.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. That would be really, really great, Fatima. Are you still doing professional inquiry in a sort of less structured way in your classes online?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
I think there was a distortion in the line. Fiona, can you please repeat? What did you say?
I just say, are you still doing professional inquiry into your classes?
Not honestly, not now, but I have a plan to work on it once the session is resumed, like in-person classes, inshallah. I have planned to do something like I was thinking about how songs can help in make the teaching effective, because as I have been teaching my daughters, and one thing I have observed that when there is some kind of singing or something else like this, so they learn very quickly. So I want to like do an experiment on here
Okay, yeah, I don't know if it's my internet, but Fatima, your internet is not working.
I will definitely share. If I make a report on it, I will definitely share with you.
Thanks very much, Fatima, for your insights. Your voice was breaking, so we could not listen a later part of your talk. But yeah, that's great. We appreciate your response and willingness to share
My
this theory.
internet is not working because we have signal issues over here. So I really apologize for that, but I cannot do anything for this.
Thanks, Fatima. So Fiona, there's a question from Aisha. She says, is it important if a teacher make reflections regarding teach after their every teaching? So it's about teacher reflection. So is it important?
Can you say that again? Yeah, I think everybody's internet's a bit wonky. Just can you repeat that? Sorry, Lula.
So yeah, so it was about teacher reflection.
Teacher reflection, that's really important. I mean, it's something that we should be doing all the time. So we rush into our lesson, we do the lesson. I mean, okay, this I'm talking about face to face, but even on Zoom. And then, we finish the lesson, it's like, oh, thank goodness that's over, I'm going to have a cup of coffee. But, it would be great if we can, spend 2 minutes to write down some notes. Oh, that went well. Oh dear, they weren't really concentrating during that bit. I wonder why. The vocabulary was a bit difficult. Just a few little things on, again, looking at the students. How did the students react? So definitely, and student surveys, asking the students themselves their opinion of the lesson is brilliant, because they feel important when the teacher asks them their opinion. They're actually probably a better, honest way of gauging the success of your lesson, even more than the supervisor or somebody that comes in to observe. The students are the ones who are bearing the brunt of the lesson. So ask them.
Great. So if you are interested in getting certificate for this session, I've shared the feedback survey link. Once you fill this survey, you will get a certificate in your email. Please check your spam. Most of the emails end up in spam. So yeah, but there is a limit to these responses. So if you are unable to fill this form, then try 24 letters and it will definitely work. So many appreciation for your session, Fiona. There are wonderful comments, and especially there was a comment from Julius. He said, I was unaware of the yes, thank you, Fiona. Brilliant presentation. I'm doing the same, trying to change the routines, trying to make effectiveness in class, but I didn't know that it was a professional inquiry. So yeah.
I know a lot of people do it anyway, but they don't realize that it's actually become a part of teacher development. It's fantastic. Well done.
So thanks very much. If you are interested in this recording will be available on a Teacher Development Webinars YouTube channel, so you can rewatch and feel free to suggest to your colleagues so that they can be benefited too. We are available on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, of course. If you have any queries, you can email us at info.tdwebinars@gmail.com. So I would like to thank you again, Fiona, for this wonderful session and sharing your experiences. We really appreciate that.
No, it was really great. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can.
Okay. Yeah, no, it was really wonderful to participate, and I've seen we've even got somebody from Palestine. I'm really, really moved, actually. Yeah, it's fantastic, and I'll definitely, if you want, I'll definitely come back and do another session, Amanullah.
Thanks very much. We'll love that.
Okay, so bye everybody. Thanks for attending.
Yeah, just let me remind you that COVID-19, we are seeing this third wave. So please be safe at your home, be responsible for your lives and your loved ones' lives. So we are in the spiritual mood. So yeah, we can all get over these troubling times, showing resilience and acting like responsible citizens. So yeah, take care everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye everybody. Bye.